Good day everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is David and in our class today, I'll show you how to make this lookalike website like Hulu. And in all of those things we are going to cover today, I will show you how to audit the website, specifically to the UI design, and I'll show you how to understand the key concepts about the sections, the illustrations, the lighting, the motions, the layout, the typography, and every other thing you use on this particular website. So we're going to take a dive into a more detailed approach on how to achieve a lookalike AI website like this. And this can also be used for subsequent projects in case you have anyone. And I'm going to show you the framework on how to achieve all of those things. So without any further ado, let's just get begin with the work. The first thing I'm going to do is to do more of the UI audits. Basically, that means that I'm trying to explain how they achieve or what they achieve on the website. And we are looking into things more deeply for us to really understand what really happened and why, what, on what actions, and so many other things we need to understand about it. That will help us to strike a very good balance to understand the fundamentals of how they achieve all of those things. So the first thing I'll be doing, I'll be critically looking at the Hulu landing page for us, since we are taking it for an inspiration for what we want to do. And from the landing on the Hulu section, I have here with me everything. And when you move your cursor down to the left hand side of this particular CTA button, it's going to move alongside together with the light that shines within the button. And here we have a cool transitions where you can see smokes, see thunder, see lighting and everything. And when you hover your cursor or some of those things, you see some other hidden interactions they have there. So I think there's a lot way more hidden context in this Euro section. And when you scroll down, you see the dashboard here, and a lot of other things happen here. Moving downward, we have next sections where you see light shining through this particular environment. And if you look very closely, you are going to see more of a texture that is being hidden in the light together with some of those little micro animations you see there. And when you scroll down to this particular page, you see the motions and everything. Everything is just working so seamless. And I think that's really cool. Going to the next sections, we have a place where there is a video, and they have some other cool transitions, like some of these wave effects you can see beneath, and some of this 3D or more of a kind of illustration that they have just beneath that. Another thing we have to pay attention to is the choice of typography they make use here. So I'm going to use the plugin to get the exact font we use. And even though we are not doing exactly the same thing, we're going to do close to the same thing or close to what they have here. So that will give you a very good understanding on how to achieve all of those things. Okay, this is where I am, and we have all of these things. These are icons together with the tests. And going to this one here, we have a dashboard too as well with some animations. And also we have a little bit of the light moving from the top diagonal side to the top diagonal side on both ends. And if you look closely, we have a texture. So the emphasis of more of the AI lookalike website you see in our time now, it comprises of the texture, the lights, and more of layer mask and some other cool things which you can do in Figma, of course. Then going down, we have another sections where we have more of the kind of value prepositions together with the icons, and the icons are coming out with a light, a bit of a light, it shines through, and all of this right up also follows too as well. Then here we have these bento grid sections which make a lot of sense, and a lot of things actually goes down here, from the lighting to the use of illustrations and some other fading effect I'm seeing from this edge, and down to there's no particular animations here anyway, but then I think all these things are something that will need detailed attention to create, and I'll be showing you how to achieve all of those things. Now going downward, we have all of these things, knowledge at your fingertip, and we have this guy here. And I think whenever you scroll down, it works based on scrolling animations or scrolling effects, or better say, let me call it scrolling trigger from your mouse. So as you keep scrolling down, it keeps changing, just like what we have here. So it works based on scrolling effects. And the last part of the website, which is the footer, has a smooth kind of a clock animations together with some motions going around a circle, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, when you move your cursor downward here, all these things still happen, and you can see the texture and also some animations. So these are the things that we have here in Hulu, and I think Majority of what they use here, there are things that you can incorporate into AI lookalike websites. So which implies that if you can break down, analyze how they achieve these things, you can use that same knowledge to, to attend to other subsequent projects you may have regarding AI and so on and so forth. So we've been able to do the audit very briefly, and the conclusion of the audit is that the whole website is made up of so many components, beginning from the lighting, the motion, the layout, the section, the texture, and even down to animations and the use of so many trigger, micro interactions, and so on and so forth. And I think it's cool. It's cool. So majorly what we're going to center around in this tutorial is going to be the typography, sure. Then we're going to go further into some of the effects, the texture, the lighting, the motions, and everything. Basically, some of the micro components in the design that you can create from Figma. And I'm going to introduce you to a third-party software, two, or better say three, third-party software that can enable you to do all of this motions and everything. And in case I didn't cover that in this video, you're going to see the video where I talk about all of this third-party software in subsequent video on this playlist. Or better say, you can check the time lapse of this very video. So explaining the key concepts in this whole approach of designing, one among those things you have to really understand is that, all of these ingredients we have in UI, they are the main component that makes up the AI lookalike or the AI powerful interfaces you see out there. And I have plenty of websites to show to you guys, which I'm going to talk about later on. But let's say we go to Figma and we go to their marketplace. You're going to see site builds. You can just go back to marketplace. And in case you are coming into Figma, all you need to do to find that tab is to go downward. And when you go down, you're going to see a marketplace. Let me go back to the home page for you to see how to get to this part of the marketplace. And the marketplace comprises of majority of the components, the tools, the plugin. But what we are so concerned about here is to find the marketplace where you can see some of those designs they made from Figma. And majority of them, we are looking at kind of the AI kind of vibe. So I think it's a very good place for you to pick inspirations. So when you are on the landing page, you can just scroll down to the last part of the page. Then you are going to see marketplace. Yeah, marketplace is going to be under resources. So when you click on the marketplace, it's going to take you to another new page that details everything around the markets. For example, you're going to see templates, you're going to see plugins, you're going to see all of those things. But here, just scroll down a little bit, you're going to see top templates and click on see all. When you click on see all, it's going to take you to another new page where it gives you only what you have, like some of the sites built with Figma, and the majority of them are looking like AI, which I believe because they have a lot of components, a lot of motions, lighting, and some other stuff like that. So I think it's a very good place for you to start all of your research in case you want to build something from scratch. Especially maybe you want to add up to your mood board or something. I think this place is a good environment for you to start with. So let's say for instance, I click on this guy, Suprema, for example. And the moment it's going to give you the preview of the website, but then I want you to just click on the preview here, and it's going to open a new tab where you can see the website in its full glory. So when you scroll down, you can see some of the animations and everything, and you see the lighting they have here, and you see the texture I was still referring to. So it's the common conventions for you to build AI lookalike website. You have to make use of texture, you have to make use of patterns, you have to make use of lights, motions, and create some powerful UI. So let's check this out. So let's see what we have. A very cool animation. You can see all of the lighting. You can see there's a light coming from beneath and it's shining through, still in motion. And see a lot of other things, cool things here. Okay, you can see the lights also coming from here, more of a kind of star, just jumping everywhere around this particular pricing plan. Yeah, you see micro animations and everything. So, it's looking more like AI, definitely, and that's what we want to get. So most times, in case you want to pick inspirations, though I'm going to cover this aspect later on at the end of this video on how or where to go to get inspirations for your website, especially if you are designing for more of a kind of AI lookalike websites. So that is one among those things you have to understand. But let me do a recap before we go further into what we want to do. If you want to build a AI lookalike websites, you need some of those components and you need to learn how to make use of them on the project you want to work on. One thing is the layout, the wireframes, where each of the content stays and how they stays, how they interact, and some of the micro animations and everything you want to capture. I think those things should be done on your paper, but that's maybe trying to edit on your part or something. But by the time you start designing, you're going to understand that you need some some good tools. For example, you need a texture, you need a pattern, you need a lighting, you need some micro animations, you need to come up with the conventions. For example, like a bento grid is a common conventions or common layout that is trending now, and a lot of other things you have to put into consideration. Creating some of those illustrations too is another way to win the game. So these are the basic things that we are going to talk about by the time we start doing the practicals. Okay, so I've been able to talk about that, and later on I'm going to introduce you to some other cool things like the Rive, like the Unicorn, like the Paper.design, and plenty of other platforms that can enable you to do all of this lightning. And I'm going to show you a demo of how to set up your Unicorn accounts, and also how to set up your workspace so that you can start creating of these beautiful animations that leverage on the cursor, or better still, cursor movements on your hero section. Then I'll show you how to embed that code or embed that particular functionality into Figma, and let's see the possibility of what we can do with Figma too as well. So that is basically how to achieve all of those things. I've been saying much of all of those things. I think I'm going to just go deep into more practicals, and I'm going to explain to you the major things that we need, and also I will start from the basic ground so that you can understand. So when you have your Figma account open, for example, I have mine open. In case you haven't opened yours, you can just open one of those your practical projects for you to get started. Stay with me. You get what I'm saying now? So here we are. I will explain one among those basic things that we can use to achieve many things, and that thing is called masking. So I know you must have heard about masking, and I know that at times people don't want to use masking. They find an alternative route instead of to mask. But in these options, masking is inevitable because it's one among those things that we use repeatedly in as much you want to build or want to design something as powerful as the AI kind of looking websites. I think you need to understand masking. So the first thing I'm going to do is to begin with masking. In other words, what is masking or mask? For example, if you right click on your Figma environment, you're going to see use as mask. That's what exactly we are talking about here. So let me give you a practical story that will make you understand. Let's assume that I'm wearing a mask, and on my face, every part of my face is covered except for my eyes and my nose and my mouth. So the moment I cover everything and I begin to make holes, I'm trying to mask the areas I want to see through, and I'm trying to mask the nose area that I want to breathe through. Also, I'm trying to mask the mouth area that I want to speak with. You'll popularly see this in a movie, for example, maybe armed robbery, soldier, some kind of action movie, kind of sci-fi movie, and so you see them putting on a mask, and you see that some of the portion of the mask is being cut out. The same thing is what we're trying to do here. The first thing is that we have to cover every area we want, and the other thing is that we have to start making holes of where we want to see. So a very good and practical way for you to begin your mask, because there are so many techniques around mask. I think about 2 or 3 techniques, but I'm going to focus on the one that is very popular and very, I think it's going to be a life-saving one compared to other two. So I'll be basically focusing on the one that is very popular for the purpose of what we want to use it for. So for us to begin the masking in Figma is a very simple thing. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a shape. Let's say we have a rectangle and we have another shape which is called the ellipse. But this time around, the rectangle is going to be the color red, while the ellipse is going to be just what we have. We are going to make sure that the two shapes are overlaying on each other. That is, one is lying on top of the other one, and you are going to select both of them together. So another proof that you make selections to both of them is that when you look at your layer panel, you're going to see that the ellipse and the rectangle one, or depending on the numbers of the rectangle or the numbers of ellipse have been selected. Then you right click on this portion and you go to use as mask. When you click on use as mask, it's going to reveal the ellipse. So it's going to hide the other thing, which is the red shape, and it's going to reveal the area you want it to reveal. The same thing happens. There are a lot of things you can do. For example, you can move this whole thing, but within the context of the rectangular shape that's hidden. And anytime you try to go outside, it's going to just give you something, a kind of a hack or something offsetting, something like this. And that implies that there's something hidden, and this particular ellipse shape is what is revealing that. So that is the basic thing you have to understand. Another words that will make you to understand is that you want to hide some areas of your UI design and you want to reveal only some portions. So the portion is going to be the one you either create as ellipse shape or better say any other kind of shape, while the one you want to hide is going to be the one you do with the bigger shape. So it's a very simple analogy, and that is simply masking. But now it doesn't really make any sense because we've not do some actual things. And let me go further into what we have. Let me go to one among the assets I'm going to drop at the end of this video, which is called the texture, which I made mention earlier on. And let me just pick up one of these assets here. So I'm going to pick up this guy called Pixels, and I will just Ctrl C and Ctrl V. I'm going to come back to that particular guy, which is the texture and the pattern, because I want to show you how to easily add that to your Figma account. So that anytime you want to make use of it, you can easily find it instead of you going elsewhere. So we have the pattern, and there are times you copy, it doesn't really come. And for example, now we can't really see this. So I'm going to go there again and press Ctrl C and come here. Let's say Ctrl V. And maybe we are waiting for that to load up because it's going to take a while to load all the whole thing. Another thing you have to pay attention to whenever you have these resources is that whenever you click on any of them, make sure you check the right property to check or to see what they have. For example, you can change the shape. We have the circle. This is the square, and this is more like the circle, you know, and this is 8 pixels, this is 16, this is 4. You know, the circle has been activated now, and you can change it back to square. So depending on what you are looking for and how spacious you want it to be like. So let's go back to where we are. I think we have it now. At times, you know, if you are running on a slow network, it's going to take a while to pop up on your new environments. So we have this. I'm going to just design, or better say delete one. And what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to just, let's say we have a frame and we give it a black color, right? Now I'm using a frame anymore because I must have believed that you understand the illustrations I made with the shape, which is the rectangle and the ellipse shape. Now I'm using a frame, and here is going to be a black environment, and I'm going to move this guy here. Now the idea of this guy is not to reveal it, is to reveal some portion of it. And mind you, one thing about texture or pattern is that we are not so much concerned about the colors, because whatever colors we want to add on it is going to be on the shape we're adding. In case you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm going to explain that in a bit. Also, one thing you have to know is that all of this wow pattern and texture, they are easily extendable. For example, you can just click on this portion here and you can extend it to anywhere you want it to be. You know, it's as simple as that. And you can change all of the property from the design property here. Either you want a circle or you want a square, and so on and so forth. You can make all of those changes to it depending on what you are looking for. So this is the guy we want to hide, and this is the guy we want to reveal, which I'm going to draw on it. And let's say this is the guy I want to reveal. So like I told you earlier on, that the colors we'll be adding is going to be on this ellipse shape, not the pattern itself. So let's say for an instance, and let's say we don't really have any color we're adding now, for example. And for me to mask these two guys together, all I need to do is to hold down my shift key and select both of them. On the layer panel, you're going to see that the ellipse shape has been selected, and also the texture. And I'm going to right click on them and go to use as mask. Now, when I do use as mask, it's going to only reveal the areas I want it to reveal, and it's going to hide other areas. So exactly that's what we want to achieve. For us to apply the colors that we want to have on the ellipse shape, we have to click on the ellipse shape here on the layer panel. But as you can click on this from the Figma environment and go to the fill option and give it any color you want. Wow. So if it is red, if it's yellow, anything you want to give it, and so on and so forth. Let's say we want to stick to this color, and you can even add multiple colors. For example, you can hold down alternative key on your keyboard and drag this guy to another new environment and reduce the size. Now, what we just did is that we tried to make a duplicate of that ellipse shapes within the areas of where we want to hide. Is going to show. And if I try to move this guy downward a little bit, you get to a point whereby you see I'm not seeing that the other part of the ellipse shape anymore, because it's assumed we are going outside of what we hide rather. So I'm going to move it backward, and in case I want to change the color to as well, I can change the color to anything I want to have here. So that is a way to make use of layer mask. But all of these things don't really make sense until I have the layer blur. So I'm going to click on the ellipse shape. I'll go to the effect and select the layer blur, and I will increase the value here. Now, every time I increase the value, this is what really happens. In case you don't know, if I change it to 0, you know, it's going to be a perfect ellipse. And if I increase the blur value, it's going to spread. It's going to spread, it's going to spread. And that is how to actually achieve, you know, using a mask, kind of. So I can make a duplicate and extend it to any other areas I want. Another thing you can do on them is that, for example, you already make use of this color and you don't want it to be too visible, because you have to pay attention to legibility, accessibility, and some other stuff, especially when you have the intention of placing a text over it. So here you want to reduce that. You can just click on your feed and reduce the opacity. Now, how much of the opacity you reduce automatically determines how much of that hidden texture that is seen. The same thing happens here, and you can use that to actually correct, to adjust all of those things. So I'm going to do very fast all of this thing. I'm going to spread it all around, and you can see what we have at the end of it all. Okay, so I've been able to, spread it across, and I think we have something very good. So, basically, when you're done with all of those things, one among those things I would advise you to do is to hold down Shift key and to select multiple ellipse shape within the context of the layer mask. And when you do, make sure you group all of them together. Like, as you can see on the layer panel, all the ellipse shapes has been selected, and I'm going to either group or better see, grouping them together implies that you want to lock it up. You don't want any movement to happen within the context of the layer mask. And I think that makes a lot of sense. You can even lock, or better say, you can lock everything. This is the layer mask. You can lock this guy, lock this guy, and lock this guy as well. So that in case you move the frame and you're trying to interact with some of the components to detect rate on it, this thing will not move and this thing will not be alterated. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a way to control what is inside. And basically, that is how we can leverage the use of texture over a layer mask. It's one among those things you have to learn and you have to know when you are looking at, you doing all of this AI thing, because it really works. The same thing they make use here in this whole environment. You can see the texture and the light moving from left and right. And in case you don't see that there, you can see that on the bento grid they created here. So you can see the texture hidden inside of it all. So it's a very simple trick, and I'm going to recreate some of those components here. The next thing I want us to learn is how to create light.